What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Thursday edition of NBA Live here at FTNDaily.com. My name is Zach Graham, aka Weisenberg DFS, and I'm alongside my good buddy, my co-host on the FTN NBA podcast, and still trying out for the Philadelphia Phillies. It's Adam Pfeifer. How you doing, Adam?
Still not trying out for the Phillies, but I appreciate it. I like the hat, and I like to match. Leave me alone. It feels weird doing this on a Thursday, and it also feels even more weird because it's a 7:30 lock today, and just getting into the habit of getting into the stream, the StreamYard right before 6.
Yeah.
I did that, and I was like, hey, where are you? And you're like, yeah, it's 6:30 today, bud. And I was like, oh, okay. Let me go downstairs and get something to eat then for the next 20 minutes.
And that's okay. On a Thursday, we can kind of take our time here. Only 5 games to go through tonight. I think I only mention your attire because I get a little uncomfortable when somebody just outstyles me, which you are consistently doing on these streams. So that being said, Adam, no stream preceding us today. We are the lone stream here on this Thursday, so we can go game by game again. Only 5 games, and kind of an early late night hammer, the last game tipping off at 9 p.m. Eastern, that being the Suns and the Nuggets. Probably the best real basketball game on the slate. I guess you could argue that the 2 good games are sandwiching the other 3. Kind of the trio of I think, the most important fantasy games are the trio of crap real-life basketball games that all tip off at 8. But we'll go ahead and start with your boys, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Going north of the border tonight. Huge game for playoff seedings. Let me make sure. I feel like, I have, probably 30 tabs up at once here on my monitors, but one that I'll have to add for these last 3 weeks consistently is the standings, and just to be able to reference the playoff positioning. So Cavaliers, a game up right now on the Raptors. And
with the
tiebreaker
in hand.
Okay, nice. So they have
helps.
Almost a 2-game lead now on the Raptors, but like Adam said, huge game tonight. The Cavs trying to fend off the Raptors for that 6 seed. And, of course, 7 seed has to play in the play-in games now in the league. So, okay, Josh. Well, let's go ahead and get into this game. And I guess I'll just start off by saying I think your team is the team out of these 10 that I have the least DFS interest in tonight, at least on DraftKings.
Thanks a lot.
And that can be a good thing for you, though, because maybe you don't have to sweat your lineups.
The funny thing is I do tend to agree, but
but let's start there, because I do think, and again, like I said yesterday to Eddie multiple times, all I do, my brand is bringing the hot takes, and Darius Garland, my favorite option from this team. So talk to me about the Cavs.
So this might be a hot take on the opposite end. Darius Garland is not my favorite player from this team. And it's if this was like a 7 or 8 game slate with very little injuries, and now obviously it's a smaller slate with a ton of injuries, like Garland would be more interesting, or I should say less interesting. But like, you don't have a lot of options on this slate at the higher end, right? Giannis is obviously out. You have Jokic, and then it's really next up, it's Darius Garland. So this game was actually on ESPN the last time these teams played, so I actually got a chance to finally watch the Cavs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's a 1-game sample. I don't know if that's the approach that Toronto's going to have. They doubled Darius Garland a lot in this game, and it led to a lot of shots from Lauri Markkanen, who had a huge game, who I'll talk about in a minute. I mean, Darius Garland, look, the floor and the ceiling is there. Like, I think he has at least 10 assists in like 18 of his last 20 games. He's been on like this 20-10 at least stretch. He's been unbelievable. He's playing 40 minutes in close games. He's, I believe over the last 7 or 8 games, he's top 5 in touches per game. I'm not saying Darius Garland's a bad play. I'm just saying, compared to other slates, I don't like him as much as I usually do. Now, of course, again, this game I think projects to be close. Garland's been unbelievable. Feel free to play Darius Garland. I could easily be wrong. My interest lies with Mobley and Lauri Markkanen here. Mobley's been averaging way more rebounding opportunities per game since he's been playing full-time center in the absence of Jarrett Allen. Both Mobley and Markkanen absolutely went crazy the last time these teams met. And we've seen, centers have a lot of success against Toronto. I don't see anybody on Toronto's front court that can handle Mobley inside. So I like Mobley a lot. And Lauri Markkanen will not get a lot of attention here. But with Dean Wade and Jared Allen out, he's playing 37 minutes. Like, Kevin Love's minutes have been down a little bit lately, at least more inconsistent. Markkanen is in a spot. You look at the advanced DVP, Toronto's like 29th, I believe, against stretch centers. Markkanen leads this team in spot up points per game. Toronto allows the most points per game off spot ups. And if they go with that same approach where they double Darius Garland a lot and force him to pass it to shooters on the perimeter, Markkanen I think could have a really nice game. Plus he gets he's not going to consistently see like Evan Mobley type rebounding numbers, but with Jared Allen out, I mean, you saw a couple 9 rebound games, a 10 rebound game. So that's my. I think somebody in chat said I have like a kind of not a random, but like a gut call every slate. I would say Lauri Markkanen would be my gut call for this slate.
Yeah, and actually, like as you were going through that, and me just kind of looking over Cleveland again, I think I do have a little bit more love for Lauri than I did 5 minutes ago. So credit to you for that. And that's if you weren't going to give us the in-depth Cavs takes, then I don't know what you're here for. Just like me bringing up Josh Primo on a Would You Rather segment.
Yeah, which by the way, still, man, that was a fun show. We got to get Steph on again.
I agree. Had a blast. I still want to continue the Ja LaMelo conversation. I have more to say about that, but we'll get back to it here. So yeah, I'm with you. I think for me with Garland, and it's an interesting slate, kind of stepping back from the wide view of these 10 teams. Like, I think Nikola Jokic is going to pick up a lot of ownership tonight because it's super easy to fit him in. Yeah, super easy to fit him into your lineup. And then with Giannis and Ja Morant out, and then a little bit below them in the high 8Ks on DraftKings, DeMar DeRozan, Chris Middleton, Garland, Booker with Chris Paul back in that late night hammer, CJ McCollum with Larry Nance coming back into that rotation. How is Nance going to affect the Pelicans on the offensive end? Garland at 9-7 on like yesterday's slate, I would have zero interest in. And I think tonight, especially if you're going to MME, it's important to have some shares of Darius Garland just because of the sheer minutes he should get in this game, as long as it remains, the game remains in the balance and it doesn't blow out. But again, looking at the implied team totals in Vegas, as we're getting some important Pacers news here, we'll touch on that shortly. By far the lowest team total on the slate for the Cavs, 104.25 currently implied. That is lowest on the slate by 5 points in this game, by far the slowest on the slate as well. So I'm not saying go crazy with Darius Garland and or anything like that, but I think I would have, if I was building my 20, I would have like 5-6 shares of Garland, and I think I would have some Lauri Markkanen shares now as well.
Right, like Garland. If this was like an 8-game slate, like I said, with nowhere near as many injuries,
not even considering him, right?
I'd consider him.
Oh yeah, I guess I got to know who I'm talking to
right.
here, but
that just shows because you're talking to me, and I'm still not crazy about Garland on this slate. Yeah. Like again, if you get to him, that you won't. I don't think there's a player with the point and assist combination ceiling of Darius Garland. There's not many players in the league all of a sudden with that, but on this slate, I mean, maybe Chris Paul, but who knows with him for coming back, maybe Drew Holiday with the situation in Milwaukee, but yeah, it's more slate specific for me for Garland that I'm even as interested as I am.
Well, let's talk the other side of this game here. The Raptors, no Gary Trent Jr. He was ruled out. I kind of expected both of those guys to play, the other being OG Anunoby, and I believe we're still waiting on news.
I'd be stunned if he plays.
He remains a game time decision. It's a hand injury, right, for OG. So
yeah, but they said yesterday I think he was like he practiced yesterday, and they said he's still a little bit of ways away, and he's probably not expected to play. Could play, but I would lean towards no right now. But we'll get that news obviously shortly.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was Nick Nurse that said he didn't quite expect him to suit up yet tonight. But still, this is the first game. We'll get that news before the end of the stream here. So, I mean, if he does go out there, again, with the hand injury, we were talking about Chris Paul in the same vein in the Discord earlier, that shouldn't take your conditioning down too far from what it was. But, there's no substitute for playing basketball. You can't get in shape for basketball, at least I always said, without playing basketball. So, I would expect some sort of minutes limit on him, but the 5-1 price tag on DK would make him at least interesting. And I think the bigger effect, it would take any interest that you have in Scotty Barnes, and I think you throw that out the window, unless you're running like 150. But at 7-6, if OG is back, I won't have a ton of interest in Scotty Barnes. But if OG sits like we expect, I think you got to have in this game where they're favored by 5 points, even with the slow pace, Adam. 8-5 for Siakam, 8-2 for Fred VanVleet on this slate where I don't think Fred VanVleet or probably Siakam either is going to pick up a ton of ownership. I have a lot of tournament interest in those guys. We were talking before the show that my placeholder did not have Jokic. It's kind of a balanced build, or, like not so stars and scrubs, but like secondary stars and scrubs. So I like all three of those Toronto guys up top. As long as OG sits out, we'll revisit it when we get that news. And if OG continues to sit, then I think you also need to strongly consider a Chris Boucher at 5K, even Precious Achua at 4.7, because again, there's a lot of guys in the 4, 5, and 6K range on some of these teams we're going to get to that are going to carry a lot more ownership. So I think I like getting to a piece of Toronto in a lineup. If I have to go somewhere in this game, it's going to be from this side. So I guess start up top with kind of the trio of expensive Raptors here, and talk to me about how you would prioritize those three, especially in MME, because I think, one lineup in my placeholder, I don't have anybody from this game.
Yeah, I mean, again, Cleveland's defense has really taken a step back over the last couple months. Obviously, not having Jared Allen won't help that. Fred VanVleet still really affordable. He's finally back up over 8K, but he's been, solid for fantasy, but he's been having a handful of really poor shooting games. So if he gets back on track shooting the basketball, there's still a 55 point ceiling there. Yeah. And Siakam, the last time these teams played, he struggled a bit, shooting the ball, and he got to the line, I think 13 times, but only made 7. They had marketing on him a lot in that game, and he did a really good job. But I still think, matchup wise, that's a matchup you like for Siakam. Against Markkanen and any minutes against Kevin Love, he has the advantage there in my opinion. So obviously those two players are going to play 38 to 40 minutes if the game's close. So they stand out the most from Toronto. But yeah, I mean, if we get OG out, I mean, Boucher's been playing more consistently 30 plus minutes, and we know the ceiling he presents when he plays 30 plus minutes. And Barnes would be my least favorite, like you said, just where he's kind of priced. Still in play if OG's out, but obviously, on this slate, it'll be tough to get to him if OG's in.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And looking at Fred VanVleet's performances, I mean, it's been a while since he had really, I would say, a good shooting game. He's had plenty of acceptable shooting games, but it's been since February 12th. Last time he shot over 50% in a game. And of course, he's been in and out of the lineup since then, and the All-Star break was in there. So I think it's only a 9-game stretch that he hasn't done so. But, Cleveland, not even with the decline in their defensive efficiency, et cetera, it's not the team that just stands out as oh, this is the get-right spot for Fred VanVleet.
Right.
But again, on this slate, I think all three of those guys are how you can get different.
I wonder if, again, it's not the end-all, be-all. I don't really view it as a huge thing in NBA DFS, but with Trent out and possibly OG out, I wonder if Isaac Okoro is on Fred VanVleet in this game, who's Cleveland's kind of used as their defensive stopper. Not that, again, it shouldn't take you off him, but just something I'm kind of curious about. We'll see.
Yeah, something to keep in mind for sure. Let's head into this trio of 8 p.m. Eastern tip-offs, starting with the Pacers and the Grizzlies, where we're going to have a ton of daily fantasy ownership today, really across the myriad of sites that we play on. Reading the news here, first of all, we'll get to Chicago in a minute, but Coach Donovan saying that Pat Williams will be limited to 24 minutes tonight. He said 25 in his debut a few games back, so we'll see what that actually means. But if you look at, and again, I know I'm getting off track here. We were going to go Pacers, Grizzlies, but we've seen 19 and 18 minutes in the first 2 games from Pat Williams, still 3-3 on DK. He probably cracks 20 minutes tonight, but I don't know if he goes from 18 to 24. I think 22 seems right to me. So anybody considering Patrick Williams, We'll expand on that here in a minute. But for this game, Tyrese Halliburton now on track to play, according to acting head coach Lloyd Pierce. Rick Carlisle not with the team for personal reasons. Goga Bitadze is officially a game time decision after being questionable all day. And then Jalen Smith ruled out. So, Adam, when you look at this Pacers team, Halliburton in, Goga still questionable, Jalen Smith out, Isaiah Jackson also out, was put back into the concussion protocol mid-game last time out for the Pacers. Chris Duarte also out for this team. I know there's going to be multiple guys that stand out here, so take me through your priorities on the Pacers.
Yeah, I mean, Terry Taylor. This team is just it's been just a very, very strange season for them with all the players in and out of the lineup. But yeah, I mean, Terry Taylor, Justin Anderson setting up as two of the better value plays on the slate. Anderson's he's been starting, right?
Yeah, last two games, I believe,
right.
Justin Anderson got the start.
Minimum salary on DraftKings. Yep. He's played 36 and 31 minutes the last two games. Obviously, you don't expect to be a massive point per minute producer, but when you're on a team that's so depleted, like there are going to be opportunities. Like the peripherals have been solid last couple games. So Anderson and Taylor stand out as two of the better value plays of the slate. I mean, you can get to Halliburton. There's still a ceiling there at 8,900 with Brogdon out. He had 15 assists last game with Brogdon out. I don't think it's like a spot I'm running to, especially when you have situations where it's like, okay, Zach LaVine is a guard and he's way cheaper and we have no DeRozan and stuff like that. But like he obviously stands out as somebody you can get to now. This team is so ridiculous with the injuries they've had and everybody that's been out. But those three stand out the most to me. Would have been a potential Lance slate if Halliburton was out, and Buddy Hield like coming off a really nice game as well. But he's still priced fairly. He's kind of priced where he's been since joining Indiana, but not really. Again, Zach LaVine is only a couple $100 more expensive than Buddy Hield. Yep. Gets a bump, obviously, with Brogdon and Duarte out, but I prefer getting to the value plays from this team.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think my two favorites from this team right now, Goga Bitadze himself, as long as he gets in there and gets the start. We saw the minutes jump up to, I think, just under 30.
Sorry, did you see the report, the update about the Cavs? That's in Discord. I think it's really interesting that came out. I don't think it does much because they were already playing 38 minutes, right? Like Mobley, Markkanen, Garland were playing 38 minutes anyway, but I just think it's funny that came out. Like, this is obviously a huge game. Yeah,
must-win game for the Raps, too, and that's why OG Anunoby is active. So okay. We'll circle back on that here in a minute. Let's finish up Pacers and Grizzlies. Bitadze, almost 30 minutes last night against the Kings. Obviously, that's a bit stronger of a matchup than seeing this Grizzlies front court. But still, Goga, a fantastic fantasy producer on the season, well over a DK point per minute, and at 4.9 with no Isaiah Jackson here, no Jalen Smith. I like Goga a ton. And then I think Terry Taylor sitting down at 3.5 with that power forward eligibility. We saw him get nearly the same amount of time as Goga did last night. So even if Terry Taylor, like at this price, Terry Taylor does not need near 30 minutes to get on top of a 3.5K price tag on DraftKings. The fact that he's got power forward eligibility gives him a little bit of an extra cookie. And he's one of my favorite value plays on the slate. He made it into my placeholder lineup on DraftKings. Unfortunate for sure that we don't get the Lance Stevenson slate, but I still think you could go to Dwayne Washington Jr. In an MME build, or as like a last guy in if you really wanted to, but I would prefer tonight after he did me dirty in the minutes bet I had with Eddie last night. I had some bad beats last night, Adam. I don't know if you saw that. I had a bet for Nehemiah Queta on the Kings, a.k.a. Persquisius McStuffins in these streets, that he would not touch the court if the game stayed close. We said, Eddie and I said, if it blows out, we'll be able to tell blowout run, and we'll avoid the bet then. 0.2 left on the clock in the game, put him in for a tip-in, which failed.
That's incredible.
And I lose a point. So, yeah, that was a tough beat there. But back on track here. On the Memphis side, kind of equally interesting in terms of value. Still no John Morant, who's apparently out for 2 weeks now, tweaked his knee. going to be reevaluated in 10 to 14 days. Dylan Brooks also going to take a seat tonight alongside Brandon Clark. So some of the better value plays on the slate. Tyus Jones, number one. He's been in our lives since John Morant started sitting out two games ago, I believe now. This will be the third, but his price decreased on DraftKings to 4-3. He's somewhat unavoidable for me today, especially in this matchup against the Pacers. Desmond Bane at 7-1 is fine. I prefer Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. I know the volatility is there with his minutes, with his foul trouble, certainly, which, by the way, has actually gotten a lot better this season compared to his first three.
Famous last words.
Yeah, you're right. I'll knock on wood here. But Triple J, 6'9", very nice price, forward eligible, and his usage jumps a lot more than Desmond Bane with those three guys off the court that we mentioned. So I guess talk to me about Memphis. I know we'll have some discussions on Steven Adams, D'Anthony Melton, Kyle Anderson, etc.
Yeah, so Tyus Jones is simply a player that you really risk fading when Ja Morant's out. He's literally he's literally one of the best backup point guards in basketball. And whenever Ja's out, Tyus Jones produces. He started 17 games this season. In those 17 games, averaging 12 points, almost 7 assists, over 3 rebounds per game. And we just saw Ja Morant miss last game. Really strong double-double for Tyus Jones, 16 points, 10 assists. He has a 21% assist rate with Ja off the floor, so he's pretty much a lock. And then, yeah, I mean, you mentioned that usage rate for Jaren Jackson Jr., 32.5% with Brooks and Morant off the floor this season, 1.3 fantasy points per minute. Desmond Bane's just under 27%. I originally had Dylan Brooks written up in the first look article because of the matchup, and obviously with knowing that Ja was going to be out. But the same matchup is there for Desmond Bane, right? The reason I liked Brooks, first of all, he was cheaper than Bane, but the Pacers, not a good defense. They allow the 4th most points per game, 5th most points per possession off handoffs this season, and Dylan Brooks is top 5 in points per game off handoffs, but Desmond Bane's right behind him. He's top 10 in points per game off handoffs as well. He'll shoot a lot in this game, so those are the top 3 pretty easily. But, I mean, you can look at potentially slow-mo. Kyle Anderson, 4,100. Not exactly a priority when you have, Justin Anderson significantly cheaper at 3K and some of the other value plays, but he obviously stands out now with Brooks and Brandon Clark out. I don't think – I mean, Steven Adams is fine, but, I'd rather go elsewhere on this slate. It's really – the 3 I mentioned that stand out the most from Memphis in Tyus Jones, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Who do you think starts at the 3? I think it's between Zaire Williams and John Conchar.
I think Zaire Williams, because he's been starting for a lot of the season the last month or so, and I think they just continue to roll with him. He got off to a really slow start, and a lot of people were questioning that pick, but he's been better lately, so I think they kind of continue to roll with him.
Yeah, I heard some discussion today just around the industry about maybe Melton getting in there and starting, and I really think that is unlikely. But even off the bench, I think D'Anthony Melton really looks good today.
He's had a lot of games where it's like you play Ja or Brooks or Bane or Jaren Jackson Jr. You see Memphis has 130 points at the end of the game, and you're like, all right, they went off, and you see they got 23 real points off the bench from Melton in 23 minutes. It's like, oh, he has that in him.
Yeah. And especially in this matchup, right? These two teams just played in Indiana just over a week ago on the 15th, I believe. And we saw 38 DK points in 28 minutes from D'Anthony Melton. So you don't even need 38 DK to be happy with that performance from Melton at 5K point and shooting guard eligible. He would certainly be in my player pool. Let's hit the Discord real quick, clear out some of these questions as the Cavs will start Garland, Okoro, Markkanen, Love, and Mobley. So going big with the 3 big lineup here against the Raptors. Any thoughts on that?
Kevin Love starting?
Yeah, is that going to change your Lauri Markkanen thoughts? And does that bring Love do you love Kevin Love tonight? Boo.
That does make me like Kevin Love a lot more because his minutes had been a little bit more consistent. And as we got that report, they are going to play their starters more than normal, and Kevin Love is a starter today. Man, that does potentially take away from some rebounding upside for Markkanen now that he's back to playing the 3. But I still love the matchup for him, so I still like Markkanen, but it makes me more interested in Kevin Love for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get projection updates, rankings updates here shortly. My guy Steelers fan was asking a 2v2 here, Bobby Portis and OG or Bain and Grayson Allen.
I slightly lean the Bane side.
Okay. Would you change your answer if you knew he had Triple J and Tyus in that lineup?
I mean, I think you can still go 3 Grizzlies, but
Sure.
it's close enough to where if you don't feel great about it, I'm fine going the other way. I just like the same thing with Chris Paul. Like, do we think OG is really limited? Maybe to an extent, but not like 20 minutes limited, especially when you're playing for the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah. I think in a large field tournament, I would lean the first side. I do think Bobby Portis gets the start at the 4 today for the Bucks. We'll get to that game next. And OG at the 5-1 price tag again, unless we hear some sort of minutes limit, like
Yeah,
it's
OG's
Nick
usually
Nurse.
like mid to high 6K range, so
Yeah,
5-1 is.
yeah, and it's Nick Nurse. Like if he's starting and we have no word of a minutes limit,
And this game is equally as important for Toronto as it is Cleveland. Like, so
absolutely. So I think it's the first side for me there.
I
And
can't believe he's playing.
yeah, I mean OG gonna get a tick up in the rankings now. Certainly would make my player pool at that price, and a tick down for Scotty Barnes. Let's see. Jaywin was asking, should I get more Cavs starters with them playing more minutes? So we're still over a half hour into lockout. I think we can. It's safe to jump back to that game and kind of discuss that
Yeah,
news piece we saw about them expecting to play their starters heavy minutes. And now Love's in there.
Right. I think that's really what changes for me is that Kevin Love is starting because otherwise it would have been Lamar Stevens with Okoro and then Markin at the 4 and Mobley at the 5. Like when I saw that, I was like, okay, it's kind of interesting. But then I remembered like Garland plays 38 to 40 lately anyway in close games. Same with Markkanen, same with Mobley, and those have been the 3 main players from Cleveland you're playing. Now Kevin Love, obviously that makes Kevin Love a lot more interesting. Kevin Love is firmly in play now. We know how efficient he's been when he's played the minutes. I think that's the only thing that changes for me is your projection for Kevin Love because like Okoro has been playing 38 minutes too, and he's been shooting a lot better from 3. So if he continues to hit his corner threes, he'll be a fine value play. But I think really it's all that changes with that report is the fact that Kevin Love is starting.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. I think it takes
like how many more minutes can Garland possibly play? Like I mean maybe he plays
like
playoff
3
minutes
in some of these games.
Right. I guess he could play if they're viewing this as a playoff game and he plays playoff minutes, he could play 43 minutes, like
sure.
42 minutes.
I think I like Kevin Love a good bit now at 5'9". The news is fairly early here, so the field is going to adjust. I don't think we're going to be pulling a fast one, trying to get over the field on Kevin Love. I think he'll pick up some significant ownership here. It takes, Lamar Stevens would have been in my pool for 150 lineups. I think he's right out now. And then from the Toronto side, just to talk about that again with OG, obviously we went over OG and kind of those top 3 guys, but I think now it's really hard to play Chris Boucher. And Precious Achiuwa takes a slight downtick to me, just because I still think they just have more versatility now, even with Gary Trent out, to kind of futz with the minutes there on some of those Raptor values that we've been looking at over the past couple weeks. Josh was asking who would be our favorite Cav now. It's Kevin Love or Darius Garland for me. I have a tough time because of the price difference deciding which one is my ultimate favorite. And I think Kevin Love probably gets the slight edge for me now because I still don't like Garland over Levine and Drew Holiday and different price point, but Triple J. And I think I like Kristaps Porzingis. We'll get there. I think I like him a little bit better than Garland as well.
Yeah, for me, it'd be Kevin Love and Mobley.
All right, as I check Anthony's DM here, let's move to the Wizards and the Bucks. This game, Bucks at home, 9-point home favorites, 228.5. Implied total here. No Giannis, no Chris Middleton on the Milwaukee side. Obviously, DeAndre Bembry still out. Let's see, Lindell Wigginton is available, called up from the G League, alongside Sandro Mamukelashvili. It's been too long since I was able to say Mamu's full name. So we appreciate the Bucks organization for that. On the Wizards side, Still no Kyle Kuzma. Obviously, Bradley Beal out for the year. So let's start with the home team here with the Bucks. Drew Holiday catching a 10 in the ranks. I think he's a fantastic play. He and Zach LaVine are the two first pieces into my lineup outside of Tyus Jones. I think that's kind of the free square tonight. But talk to me about those two or those Bucks, and then like Bobby Portis again. I think he's going to get the start at the 4 in place of Giannis here. I actually don't think Jordan Nwora starts, but he could pick up the start at the 3. I think you'll probably get Wes Matthews or maybe Pat Connaughton. I think Wes Matthews the favorite there. Brook Lopez is back, played 24 minutes last time out. He's at 4.3. Grayson Allen low 4Ks. So talk to me about the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, Drew Holiday, 37% usage with Middleton and Giannis off the floor, 26% assist rate. He obviously sets up as one of the best plays of the slate. And yeah, if Wesley Matthews starts, that's good for Holiday because it's just even more usage because Wesley Matthews is not a high usage player. Bobby Portis obviously is a lot more interesting than he was earlier today. Washington's been pretty bad against centers. And like if he starts at the 4, he'll probably still play plenty at the 5 in this game because Brook Lopez, we don't project to play, more than 24 minutes? I think he played 24 last game. I think that's safe to project him for 24 and possibly not more than that. Do you get to any Brook Lopez?
I think I would have a share or two in if I was running my 20 max tonight. Obviously, we saw that he can put up a fine number each of the last 2 games, 25.5 in 20 minutes, 24.5 2 nights ago in his 24 minutes. So I do think we could see Brook get up to like 26 tonight if this game were to stay close. But I'm with you. Like I don't think we see something crazy like Brook playing 30 here or anything like that. So he's not just like a windmill slam play, but I do think he's fine at center. How do you feel about like Grayson Allen, Pat Connaughton? I think Serge Ibaka now, obviously, if we get the Portis and Brook Lopez pairing, we'll probably get a little bit of some elevated Ibaka minutes, I should say, and he's power forward eligible as well. I can't get to him in one lineup over Terry Taylor at the same price, but maybe any of those guys like making your MME pools, Grayson, Pat C, and Serge.
If I had to rank them, it would go in that order.
Okay. And how about Wes Matthews? If he pulls the start again, 3-3, guard forward eligible?
I'd rather play Justin Anderson. He at least gets peripherals.
Yeah, I agree.
Like Wesley Matthews, I looked at it.
Mm-hmm.
10% usage with Middleton and Giannis off the floor. Not that you expect him to handle the ball or anything, but 10, like.
Mm-hmm. So we get a Toronto lineup here. Van Vliet, Anunoby, Barnes, Siakam, and Kim Birch. So I don't think, no surprises there from the Raptors. Let's flip to the Washington side of this game. I kind of mentioned my interest in Kristaps Porzingis. Obviously the massive 57 and a quarter DK points, I think.
32 minutes.
Last time out. Obviously with Kyle Kuzma gone, seeing massive usage. The previous game in the win against the Lakers at home on the 19th, we saw 41% usage from KP in that game. Only needed 26 minutes, we'll round up, to get 39 3/4 DK. And then you mentioned the 32-minute 57 DK point performance in the 18-point loss against the Rockets the other night. But the usage is up. Obviously, he kind of rode on the back of 6 stocks in that Houston game to his massive performance. But I think he could go a little bit overlooked tonight. The price is up to 8.4. Again, I think the chalk build is to have Jokic in your lineup because he is so easy to get in there. So I like Porzingis, especially in these somewhat balanced builds with multiple, secondary tier studs from that 7 and 8K range. I think Porzingis fits that build, and he's a great run back. If you have, multiple Bucks in a lineup, and if this game stays close, you're probably going to need Porzingis. So talk to me about KP, and then obviously the rest of this team, 5.4K and cheaper. With Kuzma out, we're going to see some other values from this Wizards team. So talk to me about the Wiz.
Yeah, I mean, we were on the stream last time, and Porzingis was like one of my favorite plays of the slate. Then Kuzma gets rolled out and only solidified that. The price has obviously gone up now, but like if you look at it, 8,400? Like, think about like Porzingis 8,400 with Dallas with Luke out. You'd play him, and that's
Yep.
kind of the same thing. I mean, his usage rate's been well over 30% just since joining this team. That's with or without Kuzma off the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And now you take Kuzma off. You know, Kuzma's been another underrated thing. Kuzma's been really good rebounding this season. That's not going to be there. They don't really have a center that's going to take minutes away from Porzingis. And again, 32 minutes is enough given the usage and everything he's seeing right now. If he plays 32 again, not saying he's going to play 35 or anything, but I think you should still like Porzingis.
Mm-hmm.
I like the spot for KCP. I don't love the price. Like, he's probably priced where he should be given the minutes and the fact that Kuzma's out, but like Milwaukee allows a ton of production from three, so it could be a spot for KCP to get hot from three. Corey Kispert, 4,100, perfectly fine. He should play 32 to 35 minutes. And then there was a lot of questions and talk about Rui Hachimura at 4,500. I struggle with him. I don't know if there's a massive ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just so used to seeing him like 38, 3,900. I think I'd rather play Kispert from this team for a little bit cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go to Rui, I understand.
Yeah, and the Wizards timely here, helping us out, starting the same five as they did last game. Raul Neto, KCP, Corey Kispert, Rui Hachimura at the 4, and KP, Kristaps Porzingis at the 5. Outside of KP, I think my two favorite plays from this team would be Rui and Corey Kispert. If Rui's going to get 30 minutes, he's still just too cheap. I would prefer him to Denny Avdia, who I've seen getting a pretty healthy projection around the industry, and he's been good off the bench in this role the last like 5-6 games. But I would prefer Rui for the slight discount if I had to choose between those two. And I think Corey Kispert just kind of a fine filler there, guard forward eligible at 4-1. You know, if he's hitting his shots, he's going to get you 20 plus DK points. But I still don't like Corey Kispert. Doesn't strike me as the guy that I need to have in my lineup because I'm going to miss out on some sort of tournament winning upside. He really hasn't flashed that type of fantasy ability this season. Hit a couple questions here and then we'll dive into Bulls. Pelicans, 20 minutes and change until lock. Josh was asking, do we prefer Kevin Love now to Triple J? And obviously a different price point. I think exactly $100 or $1,000, excuse me, on DraftKings, separating the two. I assume you can do some interesting things with that extra $1,000 in salary, but I still think I would prefer Triple J in the matchup with the extra usage. How do you feel about that, Adam? Trying to take your Kevin Love bias out of it.
No, I do prefer Triple J still.
Sure. Again, it's going to come down, like if you can seriously upgrade another spot in your lineup with that extra $1,000, then we're having a conversation. But if it's just like last person in, am I dropping down? Certainly Triple J. So there you go. But that was the next question from Banker there. So there you go. Triple H saying, is it okay to play Justin Anderson, that is, as a pivot off Terry Taylor? Yes. But even with the minutes projection being a little bit higher on Justin Anderson, Terry Taylor's just a much better fantasy producer. So
such a good rebounder.
Yeah, if the rest of your and at the size we could talk about Terry Taylor, but we'll continue to move on. I think I would still keep Terry Taylor, Triple H, unless the rest of your lineup is projecting to be extremely chalky. Kyle saying the projection's updated, so anybody who needs to refresh there, go ahead and hit that. Josh asking $4,300 small forward. Do you like Grayson Allen the best at that price on DK? It's very close between him and Corey Kispert for me. And it would depend on how many other Bucks you have in your lineup. So how do you feel about that price range? You're also looking at Okoro, Kyle Anderson, Jeff Green. That's a little bit further down at 3-4. How do you feel about those options?
I think with Kevin Love starting, not that he's a high usage player anyway, but it takes away from some usage from Okoro. I think I'd rank it Allen, Kispert, Okoro.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Jake, stop being. Are you listening, Jake? Stop being lazy. What is your projection? Go look it up. They just reposted the projections. Good to see you, buddy. Jalen saying Garland and Love okay to play together. Yes, because they're the only Cavs I think I would consider playing at this point. But And that's just me. I like Adam likes himself some Mobley tonight, and for good reason.
Yeah, I mean, like in a vacuum, just in general, like they are, because the way this team's operating right now, like Darius Garland's getting 10 plus assists a game, like a lot of the production, a lot of the points scored are coming off Garland assists. So, but having said that, like I already talked about how Garland's not my favorite play on this slate. So, but I mean, in a vacuum, yeah, if you like Garland, you can play him with Love. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
All right, Jake, I'll respond to you here in a second. I'll look those up. Steelers fan, Levine and Vooch, okay together. Absolutely. Is Wara in play? Yes. Unless he gets announced as a starter, though, I'm still going to slightly prefer Justin Anderson, unfortunately. I'm a much bigger fan of Jordan Nwora as a player, but the Bucks, they're not as shorthanded as they seem.
They still play a ton of players. Like,
yeah, and the fact that they brought Wigginton and Mamu up, like, it just doesn't give me a ton of confidence in Wara if he's if he's coming off the bench. Romulus with a 2v2 here, Triple J and Levine, or Vooch and Bane, single entry on DK. I lean the first side.
Yeah, first side has more upside in my opinion.
The President, Bobby Portis, or Kevin Love?
That's really close now.
I'm going to side.
I think this would be a good lunch bet, so I'm probably just going to choose whatever side you don't go.
This is tough. That's a really good question there, Slow. I will slightly lean Bobby Portis still.
All right, I'll go Kevin Love.
Yeah. We'll put it on the board?
Yeah, we'll put that on the board.
I need to get my lunch back that I had to pay you earlier this week.
If it makes you feel better, my lunch was wrong when I ordered it, so
that's perfect. Ricky saying it, is Goga and Terry Taylor okay to play together? To me, absolutely. We saw both of them play near 30 minutes last night with Jalen Smith and Isaiah Jackson out. Absolutely can pair those two. Josh saying Love and Grayson Allen, or Triple J and Wara. It's the first one for me.
So even though you like Triple J more than Love, you prefer the Love side because Warren, you have concerns?
Warren not starting with Wes Matthews, Grayson Allen, Pat C, all still available. Like,
right.
he doesn't stand out to me.
Grayson the last time we had him like as a value play in the slate, there was no Connaughton. I think Grayson Allen was also out.
Yeah.
And there was no somebody else is out too. So it's a little bit different, although you have Giannis and Middleton out. Like, they still have, like you said, they still have ways they can go with the lineup.
Yeah, no question. Just getting back to Jake here. You go. Wara or Conchar, last one before we get back into the game by game. I would slightly Conchar at this point. But again, Conchar, Wara, Justin Anderson, all still very close for me, with Anderson, Conchar, Wara being the order. Can you play both Anderson and Stevenson? I'm nervous about my guy Lance. We saw him last night in this similar situation.
If Tyrese was out, I'd say yes, but Halliburton's in, so I don't think I would.
So let's go. Bulls, Pelicans here, 15 minutes to go, 2 games to cover. Bulls traveling to the Big Easy like our boy Tinny D tonight. 3.5 point spread, actually in favor of the hometown Pelicans here. 224.5 implied total. Start with the Bull side. No DeMar DeRozan, still no Lonzo Ball after he suffered that setback earlier this week. So you've got Zach LaVine 7-7, Nick Vucevic at center 7-9, and then kind of a host of value plays here. Caruso 4-6, Ayo Dosunmu 4-4, Kobe White 4-2, Javonte Green 3-4, and then Pat Williams able to play 24 minutes tonight at 3-3. Starting up top, I prefer Levine to Vucevic. I feel like he has just a higher upside in this spot, in this matchup. But both of those guys made my placeholder. Both of them fantastic plays. You can absolutely pair the two, and I don't feel like I need a run back. And then we can discuss kind of those 4K guard plays. How are you looking at the Bulls, Adam?
Yeah, Zach LaVine will be very difficult to get away from. 34.3% usage with DeRozan off the floor, 1.3 fantasy points per minute.
Hmm.
Vooch under 8K definitely stands out as well. He's just under 30% usage rate with DeRozan off the floor.
Hmm.
Um, and then the rest is interesting because DeSumo's price has come down. Caruso's been in that mid to low 4K range. And you also still have Kobe White. I don't think they are like priorities. I don't think you have to get there, especially with Patrick Williams back because DeRozan
Hmm.
was playing so much four anyway.
Hmm.
So it's not like I think DeSumo and Caruso and Kobe White would be a little bit more impacted if Levine were out rather
Sure.
than DeRozan, especially with Patrick Williams back.
Sure. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I do think we get Desumu back into the starting lineup here.
Hmm.
But we'll get that news, I assume, probably right after this first game locks here in about 12 minutes. Caruso, Desumu, Kobe White, all those guys are fine to me. I do think I would prefer to roster any three of them before Javonte Green. I know Javonte Green has put up some fantastic fantasy performances over the course of this season, especially for the 3-4 price tag. But I think the upside on a night-to-night basis just a little bit higher in this situation for those 3-4K guards. And again, in 150 lineups, I would start to consider Pat Williams here at 3-3. Flipping over to the other side, the Pelicans, we're getting Zion Instagram posts the day after he's announced out for the season. So I don't know what's up with that. If he's just letting us know that he's, halfway okay right now, who knows? Did you notice that? I think I watched that dunk video 10 times before I noticed that Zion had no shirt on. Did you notice that he had no shirt on? Like it blew my mind when I finally realized.
I saw a lot of people talking about the floor.
Yeah, looking like a trampoline. That's standard practice court. I think most people don't go on nice basketball courts that they have give like that for the exact reason when you have, the biggest guys in the world running around and jumping 40 inches into the air. But back to tonight's game, no Zion, no Brandon Ingram still, and Larry Nance available to make his debut. He's center only, 4.4K. I don't think we can quite get to Larry Nance yet unless he pulls some sort of surprise start at the 4 here. I don't think that's in the cards tonight. So you've got CJ McCollum at 9-1, Jonas Valanciunas at 8-2, and then the rest of this team sub 6K. You have any interest in CJ up top tonight?
Not really. Really from this entire team, it's kind of Joval and that's it. Just they just don't stand out that much to me on the slate. McCollum's kind of tough to get to. When we talked about he's been pretty good since joining the Pelicans, but you have players below him in terms of price and everything like that. I think it's kind of Joval in tournaments because the matchup's good, and that's kind of it for me from the Pelicans.
Yeah, I think you could certainly CJ, kind of a similar thought process for me as with Darius Garland, although not to the same extent. Like we're not seeing 40-minute games out of CJ, but upper 30s is definitely in the cards, especially in this game where they're favored at home. And the Pelicans obviously trying to win, both of these teams still battling for positioning in their respective conferences. The rest of this team, I just can't have any interest. Devontae Graham is still priced up from the way this team was with their injury report a few weeks ago. Same with Herb Jones. I wouldn't call you crazy if I saw Jackson Hayes in a lineup, but I just think there's so many other better options on this 5-game slate before I got to Jackson Hayes. No Trey Murphy, no 4-2 Alvarado for me, no 4-1 Willie Hernan-Gomez. It's kind of just those two guys at the top and move on and watch from afar what happens in the front court with Larry Nance back tonight. Late night hammer, Suns at the Nuggets. 1-point favorites are the Nuggets, even with Chris Paul available to return tonight. 232 implied total here. Let's start with the visiting Suns. With Chris Paul back, you still have Cam Johnson, obviously Frank Kaminsky remaining out for this team alongside Dario Saric. Those guys have been out almost all year. I think Frank played a few games to start the season. Chris Paul 7-5. If he gets full minutes in this game, that's a fantastic price.
Doesn't even have to get full minutes. Give him 30, 32. Because remember before he got hurt, a lot of it was campaign being out too, I guess. But We
Yeah.
weren't seeing 33 minutes from Chris Paul. We're seeing 37 minutes from Chris Paul.
Yeah.
I don't think he's getting that tonight,
Yeah.
but again, 7,500.
Yeah. I think 28 to 32 makes sense to me. Again, like, to me, it's different with Chris Paul coming back with the hand injury to OG Anunoby coming back for multiple
Right.
reasons. OG is much younger. It doesn't have the injury history that Chris Paul does. And the fact that Nick Nurse is OG's coach to Monty Williams. I just think that the minutes allocations here are going to be vastly different comparing those two guys coming back from similar.
Not to mention Phoenix pretty much, I don't think it's completely locked in yet, but the 1 seed should be theirs. Whereas Toronto, like, they they need to win this game or to avoid the play-in. Like, they have to. So
Yep. Yeah, so you've got Devin Booker up top at 9-3. I think at that price with Chris Paul back, I'm going to prefer getting to a Darius Garland, getting to a CJ McCollum. But Devin Booker is right behind those two guys for me tonight. Ayton, I think, is fine in this matchup at 7-2, but he doesn't jump off the page. Obviously, with Chris Paul back, you're not going to get to a campaign, an Elf Payton, and Aaron Holiday. I think in a MME build, you could throw JaVale McGee into your player pool at 3-8. No Jay Crowder for me tonight at 5-2. I think he's a couple $100 too expensive for me to consider him tonight with all the other options in that 4 to 6K range. Kind of the same thing with McCall Bridges, but I'd get there before Jay Crowder. How do you look at the rest of this Suns team?
the exact same way you just laid out.
Well, there you go. Let's flip to the Denver side. As I kind of alluded to earlier, Nikola Jokic, obviously great play, projects fantastically in terms of his raw numbers. I do think in one lineup tonight, I would fade Jokic just because I want to get Drew Holiday, Zach LaVine, Vucevic into my lineup. Obviously, Tyus Jones is going to help you do that. Jaren Jackson Jr. sitting at a 6.9K price tag, Porzingis at 8.4. Some of the other guys we've talked about in that 7 to 8K range. I just think I have a higher upside in my lineup tonight, going more balanced and not spending 11.4 on any fantasy asset tonight. But we had a similar slate to this, I think last week. There was like a 4 or 5 game slate. People were discussing fading Jokic, and I think that's the game he went for like 90 something fantasy points. So I completely understand if you want to roster Jokic in your one lineup tonight, but I think he's somebody in NME builds I would be under the field on. And in one lineup, again, I wouldn't have Jokic in there. And the rest of this roster, again, that like they're going to run 10 deep at the very minimum. So Will Barton, Monty Morris, I think the first two guys that I would get to on this team other than Jokic, but nothing else from this team really stands out to me as something that I'm going to prioritize getting into my lineups tonight.
Yeah, same. Like if, last player in your lineup, Aaron Gordon, Will Barton, 5K, they fit, sure, but not running to play anybody outside of Jokic, which it's kind of become, with Jamal Murray and Michael Porter out, like it's Luka and Jokic are like the same it's like, sometimes you'll have interest in a secondary player from Denver or Dallas, and most times it's Luka and Jokic.
Well, let's hit the chat here about 5 minutes exactly until we hit lock from this first game. N6A was asking, instead of Wara, if it was Justin Anderson, would you still go Kevin Love and Allen? So I know you're referencing. I know he's referencing.
It was Love and Allen, and then originally
Triple J and Wara.
Yeah.
Instead of Wara, if it was Justin Anderson. Yeah, I think I would go to the second side then. It's tough to see Justin Anderson barring foul trouble with the run that he's got the last 2 nights on this team. It's tough to see him getting less than 28 to 30 minutes with upside for a couple more. So yeah, I think I would flip to the Triple J side because I do prefer Triple J, of course, to Kevin Love. Tyreek says, if going a little squirrely on DraftKings, would you rather play 3 Pacers, being Anderson, Taylor, and Goga, or 3 Cavs, Love, Laurie, Mobley? The Cavs trio is certainly going to be lower owned, but I would prefer to go those 3 Pacers. How do you feel about that, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, the three Cavs obviously project for more fantasy points, but it also limits what you can do with the rest of your lineup. And if that's not playing Drew Holiday or Zach LaVine or whoever, like I would agree, the Pacers side allows you to do more with your lineup, I think, and get I like Mobley and Market and Love, but like I don't think any of those players go for like 50.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Josh was asking, why is OG Anunoby an 8 in the rankings? Because I think he's going to play 30 plus minutes, and at that price tag,
Both teams are treating this like a game 7. Like they're just playing.
I'm more than
7,
willing
8
to
players.
take a chance. Yeah, I'm more than willing to take a chance that OG is going to get full minutes here.
If he was on any other team in the entire league, he wouldn't be an 8, would he?
No, not at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe on the Knicks, but then they would be the Knicks, so we'd have another conversation to have. Easy B says he needs a $3,400 utility. I mean, you're going to have Javonte Green right there, Justin Anderson. Somebody we didn't talk about, Adam, who does have forward eligibility is Tomas Sadaransky.
By the way, Josh said an 8 seems low. That's what he meant for OG.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Yeah, that's fair. I just don't. I don't want to throw him up. I don't have the confidence in him because, again, with the hand injury, like we've seen plenty of guys come back from hand injuries and have trouble shooting the ball for a couple games when they come back. So I don't want to push a ton of chips in on OG with so many other plays that I feel like are more sure things. I just think he's somebody that I would be over the field on. And I don't think you have to play a ton of OG to do so. Ryba says he's not on stream. Gordon or Brissett. So I imagine Aaron Gordon or O'Shea Brissett. He has Taylor and Goga. So I'll side with Aaron Gordon there. I guess, okay, now he's changing it 2v2, Garland and Aaron Gordon, or CJ McCollum and O'Shea Brissett. I'll take the first side there.
Same.
I will respond in chat since he's not on stream. Melton or OG for you? I think assuming you have Tyus. Yeah, I think assuming you have Tyus Jones and one other Grizzly, even if you don't have another Grizzly, I think it's OG for me at this point, especially in tournaments. P-Buck asking Justin Anderson and Vooch or Kevin Love and Brissett.
Vooch
it's
side
close, but you said the second one?
Vooch side.
Yeah, same here. Vooch side, first one. Ricky saying, talking about Brissett, any love for him? He might need to play even more minutes. Yeah, I think he's fine. I would rather have Goga for a very similar price, and I'd much rather take Terry Taylor for like the 2K discount or whatever it is. He's very much my third option there in the front court. And that's if you're not including Justin Anderson as a front court player, which you certainly could. Under a minute here, so any last minute questions, go ahead and fire them into the chat. About 50 people watching now, 15 likes. Let's get that over 20. 20 likes for 50 people watching is a decent ratio there. So if you like me, if you like Adam, if you like the Phillies, hit that like button. You can subscribe and hit the notification bell as well to know when FTN goes live. Yeah. But if you do like baseball, and I think I'm in the minority around these parts.
I love baseball for the first couple months, and it's like
sure.
But it's much better that we have it. That's for sure.
I love it more for my Dynasty 40-man roster that I get to manage and try to get out of the cellar where I've been for the last 3 seasons. Got that draft free agency on Sunday. So we are at lock here, Adam. We will go through some ownership and then get out of here. We'll deal with any last-minute changes for that trio of 8 p.m. Eastern games in the premium Discord chat. And then a little bit later, you and I doing the first mock draft of the season. Not talking baseball, folks. NFL, fantasy football mock draft. I can't wait.
As long as no one gets traded during it, which I'm not confident that that's not going to happen.
Yeah, so. With the way the NFL has been the last month or so, certainly a non-zero chance of that happening. Before we get into the ownership here, I just want to remind everybody that's watching, if you haven't subscribed to FTN Daily yet, you can do so with the promo code FTNTV scrolling right below our heads, right there. All one word, 15% off any premium package. That's FTN Fantasy, FTN Bets, or FTN Daily, the NBA premium package here at FTN Daily specifically is $49.99 for the first month. Again, 15% off. With that promo code, it's going to get you access to the optimizer, which has late swap capability. I don't know if some of the other, maybe more popular optimizers around the industry were down today again, but I know they were yesterday, and you know who wasn't? Our optimizer. Again, late swap capability. In that opto, you get access to Kyle Murray and the team's player and ownership projections, all the tools that we have here on the NBA side, your industry standard tools, and some unique to FTN, like the advanced DVP or the game environment tool. You get into that premium Discord channel, the only place where we're answering questions throughout these streams. You get access to rankings from Fast Eddie Fear and myself, all that every single day here at FTN. Promo code FTNTV, it's all one word, gets you 15% off your first month. And if you stick with us past that first month, that same 15% discount will be applied to your subscription every month thereafter through the end of the NBA Finals. So come give us a try for that first month. Get in that Discord, tag Adam, tag myself. Let us know that you're here because we would love to have you. Adam, looking at this $15 GPP on DK, 300K prize pool, 100K to first. Yuck with that prize structure, but hell of a prize there up at the top, 100K to first tonight. Cavs and Raptors. Who was the highest owned player in this tournament?
I will lean Kevin Love.
Kevin Love, number one, 17%.
I will follow it with OG.
OG, number 5, 9%.
Okay.
Again, you didn't have to play a ton of OG to get over the field.
Garland.
Garland, number 4, 10%.
Mobley.
Evan Mobley, number 8.
Yikes. All right, well.
A lot of these are condensed, man. Pascal Siakam came in second at 13. Fred VanVleet at 10, separated by almost 0.5% from Darius Garland. Lauri Markkanen, number 6 at 7%. Scotty Barnes, 6.5%. Evan Mobley, 6%. Chris Boucher held on to 3% ownership. Karis LeVert off the bench, 2%, along with Lamar Stevens coming off the bench, 2%. I have a feeling that's not going to go great for those 2% of people, but we'll see. Isaac Okoro.
If it does go well for them, the Cavs are probably winning, so that's good.
or getting run off the court. We'll see. Precious Achiuwa, 1%. Kim Birch, almost 0.75%. So that's pretty much all the notables here. The 0.01% of people that tried Moses Brown tonight. I say to you, good luck. And we appreciate you. Before we get out of here, Adam, Grizzlies will start Jones, Bain, Williams, Triple J, and Funaki. That's Steven Adams. So no surprises there. Pacers going Hallie, Hield, Justin Anderson, Brissett, and Goga. No surprises there. And then the Bulls, no surprises here either. Dosunmu, Caruso, Levine, Javonte Green, and Nick Vucevic. Pelicans going CJ McCollum, Devontae Graham, Herb Jones, Jackson Hayes, and Jonas Valanciunas. Again, obviously, Goga Bitadze, Tyrese Halliburton available to play. And the other Pacers available, there are 9 total. Halliburton, Hield, Anderson, Brissett, Bitadze, Washington, Lance Stevenson, Terry Taylor, Kiefer Sykes. Anything else to add, Adam, before we get out of here?
No, just make sure you, again, I think the MLB season starts, early April.
It's the 7th,
April 6th, April 7th.
It's opening day.
Yeah, so
another spring training contest up on Super Draft today. So
Vlad and the baseball team are doing great content, and I'm sure they're super excited. So make sure you check out all the content that's coming soon and already up and throughout the season at FTN Fantasy, FTN Daily, because baseball, especially with tools and everything, like baseball's a tough sport. So you definitely want to be over at FTN to get all the help you need.
Yeah, if you're not following Vlad Sedler on Twitter, I suggest you do so at RotoGut on Twitter.
He wrote a great article yesterday, I believe, on who's this year's Christian Yelich, and it was very in-depth, and I won't spoil it, but it was a very good article. So
yeah, Vlad, one of the best in the industry, not just for baseball, football as well. Before we leave, Bucks going Holiday, Allen, Matthews, Portis, Lopez. So exactly as we expected, no surprises, nice and easy. We'll be around in the Discord. Appreciate everybody tuning in, sticking with us. For Adam, I'm Zach. Shout out producer Thomas behind the glass. Good luck tonight, everybody. And as always,
let's get these beans.